Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. What if the biggest threat to a powerful empire wasn't an enemy outside the walls, but someone standing inside the room the whole time? One tense evening at the legendary Newman ranch, Victor Newman gathers a few key people to confront what he believes is corporate sabotage targeting his empire. But before he can finish accusing Kane Ashby, a quiet voice interrupts the entire confrontation. Claire Newman suddenly reveals that she knows who has been secretly destroying companies across Genua City, and the truth points to someone Victor never expected. The tension across Genoa City had been building slowly, like dark storm clouds gathering over the skyline. For weeks, whispers had been spreading through boardrooms, luxury penthouses, and private clubs where the city's wealthiest figures gathered. Something strange was happening in the business world, and nobody could quite explain it. Major companies were suddenly facing financial disasters. Deals that had once seemed rock solid were collapsing overnight. Long standing partnerships were falling apart, and alliances that had taken years to build were unraveling in a matter of days. Everyone suspected sabotage. But the most unsettling part was that nobody could figure out who has behind it. At the center of the city's business universe stood Victor Newman, the powerful patriarch whose empire had dominated Genoa City for decades. Victor had built his reputation on control, strategy, and an almost legendary ability to stay 10 steps ahead of his rivals. Very few people in the city dared to challenge him. And yet, as the financial chaos continued spreading through the corporate world, when Victor began to suspect that someone was playing a dangerous game against him, that suspicion is what led to the gathering at the Newman branch that night. Inside the massive mansion, the atmosphere was heavy with tension. The grand living room, with its towering ceilings and elegant marble fireplace, was usually a place of comfort and prestige. But on this evening, the warmth of the fire couldn't melt the cold silence hanging in the air. Several key figures had been summoned there. Victor Newman himself sat at the center of the room, his posture calm but commanding. Beside him was his wife, Nikki Newman, whose loyal support had carried them through countless storms over the years. Yet even Nikki could feel that tonight was different. There was a sharp edge in Victor's mood that made her uneasy. Standing across from them was Kane Ashby. Kane had recently returned to Genoa City after a long absence, and his sudden reappearance had already sparked plenty of curiosity. Some people welcomed him back, while others wondered why he had chosen this exact moment to return. Right when corporate tension in the city were exploding, and then there was Claire Newman. Claire's presence in the room might have seemed quite unamusing at first, but lately she had become the center of whispered conversations among several people close to the Newman family. Over the past few days, something about her behavior had changed. She had been unusually quiet, thoughtful, and distant, almost like someone carrying a secret she wasn't ready to reveal. As the fire crackled softly in the fireplace, the silence stretched longer and longer. Outside the mansion, the business world is in chaos. Inside, the confrontation that could explain everything was about to begin. Victor finally leaned forward in his chair. The look in his eyes was the same one he used when dealing with corporate enemies who underestimated him. His voice, when he spoke, was calm but sharp enough to cut through the room. Kane, he said slowly, each word deliberate. If I've been making moves behind my back, the accusation landed heavily. Victor continued without hesitation. And let me make one thing clear, he added. That is a very dangerous mistake. Kane's expression tightened immediately. The tension in his shoulders made it clear he hadn't expected the conversation to start this way. Victor, Kane replied, trying to keep his voice steady. Whatever you think is happening. But before he could finish the sentence, something unexpected happened. Claire suddenly stood up. The movement instantly caught everyone's attention. She had been sitting quietly near the tall windows that overlooked the vast Newman property. Up until that moment, she had barely spoken a word all evening. Now she stepped forward, her face pale but determined. Nikki noticed immediately and frowned with concern. Claire, sweetheart, Nikki asked gently. What's wrong? Claire didn't answer right away. Her eyes moved slowly around the room. She looked first at Nikki, then at Kane, and finally at Victor. There was fear in her expression, but there was also courage. Finally, she spoke. I can't stay silent anymore. Victor's eyes narrowed instantly. He was not a man who appreciated interruptions, especially during a confrontation he had carefully prepared. This doesn't involve you, Victor said firmly. But Claire shook her head. Yes, it does. She replied quietly, because everything that's happening in Genoa City tonight is connected to something you don't know. The room went completely silent. Kane exchanged a confused glance with Nikki. Neither of them understood what Claire was trying to say. Victor leaned back in his chair slowly, studying her carefully. His mind was already analyzing every possibility, like a chess player considering an unexpected move on the board. Then go ahead, he said calmly. Explain. Claire took a deep breath. For a moment, it seemed like she might lose a nerve. Her hands trembled slightly as she gathered the courage to continue. Then she said the words that would change everything. I know who's destroying everything. The sentence hung in the air like thunder. Nikki's eyes widened in shock. Kane froze where he stood, his face turning pale. Even Victor Newman, who was known for remaining calm in almost every situation, showed the briefest flicker of surprise. Nikki leaned forward anxiously. Claire, what do you mean? Claire clasped her hands together tightly, as if holding on to the last of her courage. All the attacks on companies, she explained slowly. The financial crashes, the rumors spreading everywhere, none of it is random. Kane's voice dropped to almost a whisper. You are saying someone planned all of this? Claire nodded. Yes. Victor's expression hardened again. And who would that be? He asked coldly. Claire looked directly at him. Someone you trust? The impact of that statement was immediate. The tension in the room exploded. Victor's eyes darkened. You should choose your words carefully, he warned. But Claire didn't back down. In fact, as she continued speaking, her voice grew stronger. Over the past several weeks, she explained she had accidentally stumbled onto something strange while reviewing documents connected to several corporate projects in the city. At first, she thought it was just aggressive business strategy. Companies in Genoa City were always competing fiercely. But the deeper she looked, the stranger the pattern became. Hidden messages began appearing in certain communications. Financial transactions had been routed through layers of shell companies. Encrypted files suggested secret details that were never meant to be discovered. And all of those clues pointed toward one terrifying possibility. Someone had been quietly manipulating the entire corporate landscape of Genoa City. Companies were being pushed toward collapse. Partnerships were being forced to break apart. And little by little, the Newman empire itself was being cornered. Nikki listened in stunned silence as Claire explained how everything seemed to connect like pieces of a puzzle. It was almost like someone was controlling the city's business world from behind a curtain, a puppet master pulling every string. Kane stepped forward slowly, his face pale with disbelief. And you're saying the person behind all this is someone close to us? Claire nodded again. Yes. Victor's voice became generously calm. That's enough suspense, he said. Say the name. The room felt like it stopped breathing. Claire hesitated. She knew that once the truth came out, there would be no going back. Nikki reached out and gently touched Victor's arm, almost sensing that whatever came next could ignite his legendary temper. Claire spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. The person behind everything is someone who has stood beside you for years. Kane's eyes widened as realization began to form in his mind. That can't be possible, he murmured. Victor rose slowly from his chair. His towering presence filled the room. You were walking into dangerous territory, he said. But Claire calmly reached into her bag. She pulled out a small folder filled with documents and placed it carefully on the coffee table between them. These are copies of transactions, she said. Shell companies, secret financial transfers, every trail leads back to the same person. Nikki leaned forward nervously as Victor opened the folder. As he flipped through the pages, something unexpected happened. His expression changed. His first came disbelief. Then confusion, then something far more unsettling. Kane noticed immediately. Victor? He asked cautiously. Victor didn't respond. The evidence in the folder confirmed everything Claire had said. The transactions were real, the manipulation was real, and the name attached to it was someone Victor had never imagined could betray him. Nikki's voice trembled slightly. Victor, what does it say? Victor closed the folder slowly. For the first time that night, the legendary Newman patriarch looked shaken. He lifted his eyes toward Claire again. If this is true, he said quietly, then Genoa City is about to face a war. Kane exhaled slowly. So all the chaos, all the companies collapsing, it was all planned. Claire nodded again. Yes. Nikki felt a chill run down her spine. And what happens next? She asked. Claire turned her gaze toward the dark city skyline visible through the mansion windows. The final move is about to happen, she said. The room went silent again. What final move? Nikki asked softly. Claire spoke without turning around. The one that destroys the Newman Empire unless we stop it tonight. Those words settled over the room like a storm cloud. Kane stood frozen, realizing how wrong his assumptions had been about the recent chaos. Nikki struggled to accept that someone inside their trusted circle could be responsible for something so massive, and Victor Newman, the man who had dominated Genua City for decades, now faced the terrifying possibility that his greatest enemy had been hiding in plain sight all along. Outside the mansion, the city lights flickered against the night sky as rumors continued spreading through corporate towers and luxury apartments. Genua City stood on the edge of a massive corporate war, and Claire's 5 shocking words had just ignited it. Finally, Victor broke the silence. If you are right, he said coldly, then tonight we take back control. Claire met his gaze without her fear. Then we need to move fast, she replied, because the person behind this already believes they have won. Kane remained standing beside the fireplace, unable to speak. The battle for Genua City had officially begun, and everything started with 5 words. I know who's responsible. If Claire's discovery is accurate, the fallout for Genua City could be massive. The idea that someone inside Victor Newman's trusted circle has been quietly manipulating the corporate landscape means that this isn't just business competition, it's strategic warfare. Companies collapsing, alliances falling apart, and the Newman Empire being slowly boxed into a financial trap suggests a long-term plan that's been unfolding behind the scenes for months. If Victor launches a counterattack, it could spark one of the biggest corporate battles the city has ever seen. Honestly, what makes this moment so fascinating is that Victor Newman almost never gets caught off guard. He's the kind of character who usually knows everyone moves before they make them. Seeing him genuinely shaken by evidence in Claire's hands just how serious this situation is, and the idea that the mastermind could be someone he trusted for years makes the betrayal even more intense. If that kind of secret has really been hiding right under his nose, the fallout is going to be explosive. So now the real mystery begins. Who is the person Claire uncovered in those documents? Is it someone close to Victor? Someone inside the Newman family itself? Or an ally who secretly turned into an enemy? What do you think? Who could be the mastermind secretly manipulating Genua City and preparing to take down the Newman Empire? Drop your theories in the comments below. And if you enjoy dramatic story breakdowns like this with twists, secrets, and powerful characters, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next chapter of this story.